Previously, in our interview with Huey Key on the Holistic Human podcast, we talked about how we came to know Waldorf and our respective education philosophies.
They just look at their phone the whole day without,
disengaged and then antisocial.
So it's like physically they are not disabled, but they look like a disabled person. Like 肢体瘫痪, 心灵瘫痪, 不是肢体瘫痪, 心灵瘫痪. Yeah, that's what we call, because this is actually one of the most critical issue that the society is facing now, because a lot of children, they are not willing to do anything anymore. They might have very good ideas, they have like a lot of things that have in mind, but it's all trapped here because they cannot connect and transfer it to their hands and limbs to actually do it. So if you take that away during that 0 to 7, like the age gap, so it's something that will be missing when as they grow, something that you cannot take it back anymore. So for learning, like my friend and even my mom's like, aren't you worried that he will be left behind, 输在起跑线?
Yes, a lot of parents will say that.
Yes, but then I will be asking them back, what is your meaning of 起跑线?
Yes.
What is the starting point for you? So for me, the real 起跑线, the starting point of life actually starts at 18 years old. That is when they step into society. If they're still not sure about themselves, they're still not sure who they are as the person, that is where they are going to spend a lot of years fiddling, falling down, don't know what to do.
Directionless.
Yes, that is even more of, a waste of time.
Yes.
If you are talking about the if you want to compare, because for me, I'm hoping that my kid, when they are graduated from whatever that they have learned in the school, they are very sure what they want.
There are many education styles. There is homeschooling, unschooling, self-directed learning. There is a concept, something called like a Sudbury school in the US, where the children of different ages mix together. And children, they are innately curious. And the thing that me and my wife, we are most afraid of is when the curiosity and the interest of learning is educated out of them in a traditional education system where so much rote learning, so much spoon feeding, so much tests, and you are forced to learn things that you are, that's not alive. It's, we call it 死背书 or whatever.
Relate to,
and then I've read across that why many parents choose alternative education systems is they use this phrase to describe is when they notice the light went out in their children's eyes, when they like lose the not will to live, but then
they are dead.
Yeah, they're like soulless or dead inside, and then the parents said, no, we can't do this anymore. We need to like transplant him somewhere where he can be alive again. And that is one of the driving things behind why parents choose alternative education.
Yeah, we actually have a few students that it's exactly what you have mentioned.
Today, we continue the discussion centering on education styles and elements of anthroposophy.
Yes.
Oh, you
so
mean
we actually
coming from
brought them. Yes, we brought them back to life. Yeah, something like that. Yes,
okay.
They were so pressured, and it's not for everyone as well. If you are talking about the government school system, because some people thrive in it. Of course, there are so many different kind of kids.
Yes.
So, but yeah, because the world evolved very quickly.
Yes.
So it is actually quite lucky for the kids nowadays to have so many choices.
So many choices. Yeah.
So yes. So there are a few children that actually came to my school with the similar, exactly what you just mentioned. They are so overwhelmed and they couldn't make friends. That's another problem as well, because the teachers in conventional school, they don't really have the time or even the heart. 心力啊不够 no time, or even even if they want to, they don't even have the yes 心有余力不足对 so they couldn't even do it, so they couldn't even take care of so many things. There are so many children in one class. So the emotional part is usually being neglected, which I think is very, very dangerous, especially after you grow up. That's something, the mental health is one of the biggest issue. Right now. Even so, after a few decades. Yeah. Yes.
One thing I see about this is that the current conventional school system, although it's like the accepted norm and the accepted default education system, but this one has only been in place in the late 1800s, where I think it started in the Prussian government. It's the area between Russia, Germany, where I think after one of the wars, right, they wanted to consolidate their human resources, and they started running this kind of school system where it's sort of regimented, children of the same age group going to the school, and this is actually to supply the human resources for the industrial revolution so that they can be trained as factory workers. This is the initial idea, but it has been the default. But this default mode is actually not since the human history is so long. It's just like the past 100 and plus years only, but we have accepted that this is the only model, and I don't think that is true. There are so many other models, and it caters to a certain type of personality or disposition of a child, but there are so many neurodivergent kids out there, and to prescribe this only one style for all the kids, we will end up with so many percent of the population of kids feeling unhappy, disenfranchised. They cannot develop themselves because they are forced to grow inside a mold that is not for them. Yeah.
Yes, that's very true. I always say, I also often tell my friend that I am actually a very lazy mom, which is why I put my son in Waddle school, because the teachers there, if you're not someone who actually cares about emotional health or cares about a child in general, you wouldn't be a Waddle teacher. So in a way, I will be quite relieved, that my son will be in good hands, first of all, because teacher is actually the key person that will shape your children's behavior or anything that actually matters. If you can remember the teachers that, especially your primary years, if you can remember those teachers that actually treats you very well, or those teachers that actually treats you very bad, it actually impacts you a lot of things. Because of that teacher, you don't like this subject. Because of this teacher, you love whatever that you're doing, things like that. It's actually very, very important. So something very special about Waddle School is that the main lesson teacher, they will grow with the student. So from like primary 1, they will grow all the way until primary 8 if there's nothing happen like in between. So imagine that years spent with your children, the teacher can know your kid as well as you know them, to be honest, because half of the day they are spent in the school. Yeah, that is one very important factor. The other one is because of very strong community behind, because the parent community is very, very strong. Everyone is mostly like-minded, so you wouldn't have like kids, or you have to choose what kind of, okay, for me, I can share some of the very interesting stories as a teacher, because I used to teach in, I don't want to say posh areas, but those international schools, those expensive international schools in KL, the way the children speaks is quite scary, because my what I can remember, this was very long time ago. I think the kid is probably in the university or even working now. So the children actually say things like this. Hey, your dad drive my V1 like that. No, they will compare this kind of very material thing. So they will ask, how many mates do you have? That kind of thing. So it's like, I mean, not all lah, but I have encountered quite a few that is like that, and even from parents that told me stories about how children are so into gadgets, that kind of thing. So it makes you wonder what kind of, the society group that you want your kid to be mingled with. So that is also another small little concern that I had. Yeah, so this is how the whole thing evolves into, this landing here. So yeah, I'm not sure if your experience is the same as me, because I've seen a lot of children are like that. Here.
For me, what we talk about what we don't want in our kids, right? I don't want my kids to be, one is antisocial, 2 is like they live in their own bubble, in their own world with their devices, and then it's like physically or emotionally or spiritually not present, although we are in the same space, right? But it's not there. And then, of course, the values that we want in our children. And then, like, 10 years when they are 15, 16, what kind of relationships we want with our children. And then it's not like I want their academics to be the best, but then other aspects of the person is not developed or not, how to say, no chance to grow in other aspects. I don't want to be my child to be a robot. Robots like AI, if you are very smart and everything, you can be easily replaced. But when you're emotionally not developed, you don't know how to work with other people, you are the first to be replaced. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just now we just rewind back a bit. You want to talk about the head, heart, and hands of the of what.
So I talk about, because for Rudolf Steiner, he sectioned the children in years like 0 to 7 years old, 7 to 14, and then 14 to 21 years old. So 0 to 7 is all focused on the willing part. So they are doing a lot of handworks and stuff. And I'm not sure if you have tried crochet.
Very hard. I also cry.
Yes, because of my kid, I actually started learning crochet, and it was devastating because like when you do something wrong, you have to like tear off the whole thing and you start all over again. So this is where you actually train the resilience in kids. Imagine you actually do the whole thing and then you need to tear it off just because you did a few wrong stitches. So this is what the kids actually go through. So for 0 to 7, they are not doing crochet they are doing like finger knitting, very easy task, making braids. Every day is the same. Every day they do the same thing. So that's the willing part. So once you get that, you count that part already, right? So 7 to 14 is where the primary school years came. So that is where they focus on the feeling part. That's where they actually grow up and they feel the difference of themselves and the world, because like little children is one whole lump, like a whole, all they're in one. They don't feel the separation. They don't feel the separation of me, my mom, or the animal that around. They thought we're all one big happy family. But when they actually go to primary school, they start to grow. Their ego, their I start to grow. So they actually, you need to develop and nurture the feeling part, because they might feel confused, especially the 9-year change. Have you heard of the 9-year change?
Oh no, what's that?
So how should I? It's actually very difficult to explain in short. So for children, like a lot of people know that the rebellious phase, teenage. So yes. But why? Do you ever wonder why they have it, and why is it during that age?
We attribute it to hormones, but you can explain further.
But I don't really know like very, very detailed, but we know according to Rudolf Steiner, there's something called the 9-year change. So 9-year change is where it happens during around 9 years old, but not exactly 9 years, because every kid is different. Sometimes about 8+, sometimes about 10. So, which is why we recommend students for music wise, we recommend them to have it, to learn individual instrument, like one-to-one instrument, after they completed the 9-year change. You realize that around that age, right, the kid will start to ask questions, like very challenging questions. Okay, there are a few change, we call it, like 6-year change, where your kid will say, why? They'll be very annoying, a lot of whys. Because they start to question, they start to like figure out, this is not what I thought it is. Right? Okay, so that is 6 years old is one of it. 9 years old is the one that is a pretty huge change, where a lot of people, if you don't understand, if you not really understand about the whole thing, the change thing, you will think that is a rebellious phase. This is when they actually realize the good and the evil, the duality in life. So before that, everything the teachers say is the good, the best. Teachers say everything is correct one. Last time it's parent after that it's teacher then the teacher was like, the kid will be like, okay, everything teacher say is good, it's correct. But when they reach around the 9-year change area, that time, right, they will start to question whether it's correct or not. So their feeling will be very confused for them, because they don't know why are they feeling anxious, why are they feeling this. They are starting to explore different kind of feeling, because before that they only maybe know a few basic ones like angry hungry and all those kind of things. But now they kind of have like complicated emotions or it's most of the duality lah. This is why like for music, 9 years old we'll start to teach them about the minor key songs. Before that we are all doing only major key, like the happy songs. So this is where the feeling part is, they will focus on the feeling development. And of course after that 7 to 14. Yeah, it's always 7 years. So 14 years to 21 years is all about thinking. This is where they develop the critical thinking. So that because they already kind of like going to adulthood, so this is when the feeling the thinking part comes in. So you can give them all the information they need to know. They can surf on the net, they can use the internet, they can use that time they can. Before that, there's no gadget. There's no gadget in the Waddle school. Because they
shouldn't be.
Because they are focusing the development stages in the different ages. Different from like conventional school. They kind of like 倒反了. They do it. They do the other way. The thinking first. They kind of focus a lot on the thinking first and neglected the willing and the feeling part. So it's actually just the order of things that they do, which is why I say actually the destination is the same. It's just the way we do it is different. So this is how you lay out to be a more holistic, the wholeness, because this is the way children learn. But have you heard of the fourfold human?
No.
In anthroposophy? Yeah, because for the entire, if you want to understand the entire education, is 三元四体，他们讲华语。Okay, so it's a 3-way children learn, and of course a fourfold human. Fourfold human means physical, the astral body, the etheric body, and the ego. Ego is I lah. So physical body is very easy to understand lah. Our physical body that you can touch lah. So etheric body is the life force. Your physical body, you come out a little bit, that is your life force. That's an invisible thing. Life force is something that is very important, especially for for us teachers. We need a lot of life force to actually. That's why like for kindergarten teachers, right, they cannot teach for a very long time because their life force will be sucked away. They need a lot of life force to be with little children because they are full of energy, and you have to, your life body has to be, it's about vitality. Because yes, some people, I can't remember suddenly his name. There's one very famous pastor or something. He was born without limbs. I'm sure you know. He goes around the world giving many years already.
I think.
Something. So that is what we call his etheric form is very, very, very strong. Even without the physical body, you can feel he can actually enlighten the entire space just by using the etheric form, the etheric body. So that is the etheric body. And then there's one called the astral body, which is what we call the soul body. Your soul, your emotion, like your feeling, your pleasure, your hatred, and everything. That one is inside the soul. So, and then the last one, it will be the ego, the I, me, 我. So the ego is your individuality in all. So the whole anthroposophy, anthroposophy is a big title. So Waldorf education is under anthroposophy because there are a lot. They have engineering, they have biodynamic, farming, and medical. So this is the whole entire idea of how the education is actually being structured.
When we talk about philosophies, around the same era as Rudolf Steiner, where he developed this anthroposophy, was a compatriot by the name of Helena Blavatsky. Then she developed theosophy, which also talks about the subtle bodies of the human body, and there's a whole encyclopedia of knowledge behind there.
I have a very big book about
yes.
I cannot finish that book, it's too difficult to...
Most people don't even know it exists because it's not discussed. And then we are very into empiricism, scientism, very material, and then this part is neglected. Yeah, again, we rewind a bit. Is there anything you add, or else we rewind a bit back to your, as a traditional music teacher, what was the challenges you faced, and why were the parents like not in sync with the children? And maybe you want to talk about the dropout rates in traditional music education, and then after that, compare with Waldorf. Yeah. Sorry,
Okay,
a lot.
that's a lot of questions.
One by one. Sorry, put you in a spot.
Right. Nah, it's okay. I'm just thinking how to make this easier to understand. In short, I mean, okay, maybe for me, because I went through quite a lot of experiences. I don't know, I swear or what lah. Maybe, yeah, the universe wants me to learn, so I have been through a lot of things. And I think similar to a lot of, I have heard a lot of experiences from a lot of parents and parents themselves and also the kids. So a lot of children, they give up around grade 5, if you notice, or grade 8, right? So the parent will start nagging, hey, how come you want to stop? You're already grade 7, take one more, then you complete already, you know. Because it's always the BRSM and Trinity is always until grade 8 Then if you take 1 to 8, the certification, it kind of like you completed the music journey already. Yeah, 你毕业了咯, graduated, you know. But the kid just couldn't even continue anymore. They feel so burnt out because it doesn't in sync with them, which is why I feel it's so natural for children to actually start learning music around 9 years old after the 9-year change, because that's when the discipline, the maturity actually is there. It's like instead of using 3 weeks to teach a 5-year-old how to do something that you can actually accomplish in 2 days when the kid is actually 9 years old. You get what I mean? So for a lot of children, they will feel they couldn't connect with all the tauge lah, all the music symbol, because for traditional teaching, yes, the tape post. So for traditional music teaching, the way of doing it is they show you the book, they show you, okay, this is why, then you just copy it and you just kind of memorize it. I think lah. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I've been teaching for over the decades. So this is usually what we are doing, what we've been doing. So you just teach from there. It's like space law, like what you say lah, you know. So maybe this is probably the biggest reason why children cannot continue. Like even if they have grade 8 certification, you ask them to play something for you on the spot, they cannot do it. They just couldn't, you know, they don't like, I cannot connect with the instrument that I'm learning, because I'm just there to take the certification like my parents asked me to.
This story so intrigues me so much is because if we see 武侠片 got 人剑合一, and then if we see like the writer or the artist, they are at one with their instrument, whether it's a pen, whether it's a brush, whether if you're a sculptor, you and the sculpting piece of a knife or whatever, you are in sync.